I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes. There's
that was
our
the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
We are back again. It's been an hour, and this time, Randall, we are at Monza in the Spec Racer Fords. We've been watching a little bit of practice. Gonna be a draft-heavy race. It should be interesting. We got another special guest here, Yangxi Lin. I think I got it right. Yangxi, I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. No, that's me. Hello.
Yeah. Welcome in, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Are you excited for this race, Yangxi?
I think it will be fun to watch. Yes.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great time. Randall, what are your thoughts, man? Draft-heavy track. Is fuel going to be a problem?
I don't think fuel will be a problem. I think those that are able to save more are probably going to have a distinct advantage. And we've been watching qualifying here for a few minutes already. We're about halfway through the qualifying session, and there's been a lot of gamesmanship going on already on who's going to get the draft and who's going to give the draft. And we're starting to see the lap times come down. There's a lot of pack racing going on right now in qualifying.
Absolutely. So here are your qualifying results as they stand right now. We have about 10 minutes left with Jorg Mani there in first place in the Masters class. Dudu Castro just pipped Bobby West, who was in first in S1 and also second overall. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting race. We're going to figure out, Randall, who is got the best view on track, and we're going to ride around with somebody here. You know what, Randall? Why don't you pick somebody? You tell me who you want to ride around with.
Let's go with Bobby West since he was showing pace early. Hopefully he's not too mired in a traffic jam. You see, he's about halfway through the lap, so he'll be around here shortly.
Anyways, while we're talking about this, as Bobby, just went through, about to come up to Parabolica here. Where's going to be the trouble part, the trouble spots on this track for these SRFs?
Anywhere that the track doesn't go straight is probably going to present a problem for some of these drivers, especially with the amount of traffic we're going to see. Bobby West now got some clear air on the front of the car. Coming out of Parabolica, you'll see some of these drivers are really struggling with understeer in Parabolica. He took a bit of a different line. He's going to dip into the pits, of course. This is when we need an onboard lap, so we'll jump to somebody else. But
yeah,
I was watching in practice, some drivers are really struggling on the exit of Parabolica to get front end grip, especially if they were following another car.
Let's see if we can hop on here with Jorg Mani. I don't know if we've done an onboard lap with him. Looks like there might be.
He's right in the middle of the track now. Yeah, he's setting up for hopefully another flying lap. The nice wide entry into Parabolica. Going to try to get the power down as early as possible. Open those hands up. You see he's using all the track width here. Very important to get Parabolica right for qualifying. It sets up your flying lap. If you get a bad run out of here, it's going to affect you all the way down this massive straightaway. You see he comes over the line into the middle of the track, and he quickly blends over to the left. First chicane, the right-left chicane, going to have some traffic coming out of the pit lane. That could be a big thing during the race. He's going to be well clear of it by the time he gets to that 150 board in the brake zone of 4, turn 1. These cars are able to be pretty aggressive on the curbs, but in some of these places, if you're too aggressive, it'll bite you. We see you're using all the apex curbing there and not getting onto those sausages through the first chicane. Now just hugging to the right through Curva Grande. Going to stay to the right on exit. Don't let the car bleed out too far because the next chicane is a left-right. this is going to be the one where you really need to attack the curbing to get a good time through here. We see he's going to go all the way up on it, on both sides, and use all of that exit curbing to his advantage. Then through the lesmos, two very quick right-handers, not much braking. Going to be tricky in traffic possibly, using all the exit curbing there. It's a little easy to run wide, especially on the second lesmos, to the point where you get an off-track or a slowdown. Slowdowns are going to be big here, especially in the early laps. If you get a slowdown going through one of the first two chicanes on that first lap, it's going to be super punishing and very, very hard to pay off over the course of the lap, or over the course of 30 seconds. As now we see him on the right-hand side of the track coming through a scar. He runs a little bit wide at the first apex. They don't really want to hit these black sausages too much. They can hit it on the last apex a bit. You see he's going to jump out of the way and reset. Allow others to go by. But we saw the run through Parabolica, so in aggregate, we did get a full flying lap there out of Jörg.
We technically did, and yeah, so I want to kind of hit on what I think is going to be a trouble spot. Obviously, most of this track is extremely draft heavy. Into Parabolica, I think it shouldn't be too much trouble, but in most cars that I've driven here, Randall, it has gotten a little bit sketchy, especially later on into the run. His tires get a little bit hot. The rear ends tend to want to come around, and especially in these spec racers, they don't seem too stable on the rear to begin with.
And Parabolica is going to really be where you win or lose a race. In slower cars, it seems to be that whoever has the lead coming into Parabolica is going to, whoever has the inside of at Parabolica is going to win the drag race to the finish line. So coming into that last lap, if you're in front of another car, you really want to defend that inside line. Even if it costs you a little bit of apex speed, it's going to cost the other car just as much, and you'll get that good inside run up to the finish line and most likely win in a drag race.
Yeah.
I think the biggest trouble spot is going to be where it always is at Monza, turn 1 on lap 1. Normally, in terms of pace, this is such a draft-heavy track that qualifying position doesn't really so much matter for track position. You're able to make your way through traffic, but if you find yourself mired in the back, you're much more likely to be caught up in an early incident. So you do still want to have a really good qualifying time and start as far up the field as you can.
Now, I don't know if anybody knows the actual distance of the turn 1 rundown into turn 1 when the green flag drops, but I know it's a long way, and I would like to actually mention that as well, especially turn 1, lap 1. The accordion effect, Randall, from the front of the field to the back is huge. I mean, the people in the back almost have to be stopped to get through turn 2.
Absolutely. Right now we have 29 drivers have set a time. We have 32 that have joined the session in total. I know a couple have not yet set times. That's going to be a huge accordion effect. They do have a rolling start in this league, so they will have the benefit of that. But that's just, honestly, the rolling start might make the accordion effect even bigger. Getting towards the back third of that pack, it's almost going to turn into a parking lot in turn 1.
Yeah, I think you are right there. Let's go see somebody here. I think there's a name that we recognize, isn't it, Randall? Back there in 28th place, Stevie out there running by himself, actually, not really even trying to find any draft help, which is surprising to me.
Well, Stevie Ray was using a little bit of that administrative privilege earlier in the session before we got onto the air. He had a little bit of an incident with Daniel Wood, I believe was the name. He and Daniel got together. No hard feelings. Hard to get mad at the administrator. So a little bit of that executive privilege. There's somebody going off behind him there at the exit of the second Lesmos. It's really easy to do. But yeah, not really setting up to run into a draft. I don't think that when it comes to racing, I don't think he's much of a gamer. I don't think he's going to try to maximize his qualifying time. I think his goal is to keep the nose clean and keep it on the gray stuff, and by that have a good race.
So let's talk about Jörg Mani for a second, still sitting up there in first position overall and in Masters. Where did that lap come from, Randall? Because I think we came on board and online after he set that fastest lap. How do you set a fast lap in qualifying here? You have to be in a pack for sure, but where do you want to be in that pack?
You want to be near the front of that pack so that your braking zones aren't too terribly affected by a bunch of cars braking in front of you. You also want to time that lap so that you have a good draft at the right time because if you wait too long, those tires are going to fall off pretty fast and not be as good as they are in the first few laps. It does take them 1 or 2 laps to get into the right working range, but then they only good for a really fast quality time for it seems to be 2 to 3 laps at a place like this. So you got to time that really well.
Well, absolutely. So Yangshi, I'm coming to you. We got 2 minutes left in this race. Give me your predictions for Masters winner, Spec 1 and Spec 2 winners of all 3 classes.
You know, Monza is a really tough call. I have to say, it's really wild. So I'll say I'd have multiple picks. Is that okay? Is that allowed?
Absolutely.
You know, for Spec 1, I think it will be a battle between Castro and Soto. For Masters, I think Money might have it. And Spec 2 is wide open, I'll say. But Jurcevic has really been showing some pace today.
Yeah, speaking of Jurcevic, he was very, very fast in Spec 2 in practice. And he has... that pace is clearly transferred over. Look at this gap. Jurcevic in 4th place, Randall, the second Spec 2 driver, all the way back in 15th.
Yeah, it's just about timing and getting a good draft partner and setting a quick lap at the right time with your tires. As we saw, Antonio Reis is now at the top of the leader, where we have 2 Masters leading the way here.
Old but not slow, Randall. Old but not slow. Looks like they've both come into the pits now. Antonio Reis with an absolute flyer to get himself on the front of the grid here. Dudu Castro, who was extremely fast last week, won the race, I do believe, with Joshua Soto. He's back again, Randall. Remember, we said to look out for him last race.
Yeah, absolutely. Always aggressive. Pretty clean driver. We'll see a lot of excitement coming out of Josh Soto. He will not be content to sit in 4th place if that's where he starts. He will want to move his way to the front. He's not much known for saving fuel or trying to just sit happy where he's at. He wants to be leading and he wants to win races.
Oh, doesn't anybody want to win races, Randall?
I think Josh Soto is one of those drivers that wants it just a little bit more than your average driver.
Well, I don't blame him there. So qualifying has come to an end here. We're going to look on the bottom of the timing tower, and you'll see these drivers. Looks like Flavio Andallo is moving, actually, right now. 3 green sectors. He doesn't have any help, though. I haven't seen any purples coming across the bottom. We'll see if any of these sectors pop up purple, but it's looking like this is going to be your grid, really. Honestly, a couple people might change there towards the middle, towards the back, but as you were saying, Randall, it really doesn't matter that much.
After the first couple laps, as long as everybody's in line, you want to be at the front so that you're in contact with the leaders. But if there's no big incidents early on and the pack doesn't get broken up, you have plenty of opportunity to make moves throughout the race. It's a long race, 40 minutes, so you got plenty of time to make your way up.
Flavio puts himself up into P16 with that lap. Great lap there by Flavio. Looks like Alice Pleva has just made a move there. Dudu Castro also back out, but doesn't look like he's getting any faster than he has been. Gary Woolbolt also on a lap. This is going to be his first lap. That's why they're all green. We'll see exactly where Gary goes. It's going to be interesting here. So let's talk about the draft real quick, Randall, as this all ends. About 1.5 seconds is where you need to be, right?
1 to 1.5 seconds. I think after 1 second, you're just getting a vestigial draft. But you really want to be within 1 second if you're going to try to make a move. Speaking of draft, let's keep an eye on Daniel Wood. I think he was the car following Dudu Castro at the end. Or sorry, maybe it was Dantas following. And sure enough, Dantas with a big slipstream off Dudu Castro goes to the top.
All right, and that should be one of the final cars. We got a couple more coming around. Looks like Pleva is not in it anymore. We've got Megan. Looks like she might actually still be on a lap here. See what Megan can do. She's in the draft as well. She sets a green 3rd sector. Oh, she's coming into the pits.
Yeah, she may have picked up an off track through one of the chicanes and knows that it's not going to be a good lap time. It's just going to take one more stab at the pit entry. Pit entry here is really important. You need to really, really attack the pit entry here. Brake as late as possible without getting that speeding penalty, just to make sure that you have the best possible pit time.
And look what she just did. One more pit stop practice. She just did it again. She did that last week too, Randall. And unfortunately, we heard a little bit after the race that, even though she did some pit stop practice, it didn't really work out for her because she took a little bit too much fuel, but the pit stop practice here, I think, is a great idea.
Absolutely. The pit exit here, very tricky. It spits you off on the inside for turn 1, so you can't blend over if there's other traffic. So you may be on a bit of a compromised line, though it will give you the preferred line on entry to turns 1 and 2, but you're going to be really slow and giving up possibly the inside on the exit.
Absolutely, we will. And I do believe here very, very shortly, I don't think Megan is going to be able to get back around here. So we should be getting the grid up for you at any moment here. It looks like that is happening right about. Not now. There it is. Bring up the grid for you here, Randall. Walk us through it.
Starting in pole position with a 2:08.374 Evandro Dantas in that Four Brothers Motorsports number 32 entry. Starting alongside your leader from the Masters division, Antonio Reese. Starting P3 is Jörg Maney alongside Dudu Castro. Josh Soto starting P5. Expect him to move up during this race alongside Aleš Pleva. Arnis Jusevic is the first of the Spec 2 drivers in the 422 machine, starting P7 alongside Bobby West, followed by Claudio, Andrea Gardini, and Jason Green. Jason Green is another driver we should keep an eye on. He's known for saving fuel and is in a good position to make a lot of moves off pit strategy. Kurt Nunez starting in P11, Brad Cathcart in P12. P13 is Jeff Jacobson. P14, Megan Overstreet with Daniel Wood in 15th and Flavio Andalo in P16. William Bruzarosco starting P17, quite a ways away from the Spec 2 leader. Joshua Justice starting P18, Tom Gradwell and the number 909 race in the 909 Racing number 909 machine starting P19 alongside Jeff Fritcher. Joshua Wilkie in P21 alongside Andrew Love in P22. P23 is Caleb Pocock alongside Jim Brewster, who we saw in a really good battle there at the end of the race in the Formula Fords. In P25 is Paulo Bream and P26 Russell Telker. Then P27 Adam Bradshaw and Gary Walbalt starting alongside him. P29 Paul Jackson with League Administrator Stevie Ray starting in P30th. And then the last row of the field is going to be Wayne Buttermore and Jason Perry, who did not set a lap time in qualifying. So we should see how many spaces he can make up throughout this race, trying to do the worst to first challenge.
Yeah, well, there's going to be probably a lot of worsts and a lot of firsts here in this race. If I have, I'm just trying to bring out my crystal ball here. Randall, what do you think is going to happen here going into turn 1? How nice do you think everyone's going to play, knowing this is a very, very long race, 40 minutes?
I expect to see some aggression out of Josh Soto and Dudu Castro, and I'm thinking the Masters are probably going to be pretty passive. So if they fall back in the top to the back of the top 5, it won't be a big surprise. But I think we should keep an eye on Antonio Reese and Jörg Maney. If they can get through the first couple laps clean, get those tires up to temperature, their experience may pay off with an overall win.
Yeah, it absolutely could. I mean, and let's talk about Jorg with a 6,200 I rating, Antonio Reese with a 4,700. These are not slouches, even when it comes to the sim racing community. So these guys are extremely fast. Keep an eye on those Masters. And we are about to go green for the final time this weekend for the Weekend Warriors. Pace car going to be peeling in here out of Parabolica. Now, Randall, I'm going to leave it up to you. When would you go green here? When would you send it?
As late as possible.
I want to point out that this league enforces the leader to go on the iRacing green lights.
It is.
So, leader waiting for the iRacing green flag, and it should be in the air any moment now. Looks like they're going already. Evandro's going to get a good jump. Managed to catch the cars behind him and alongside him. A little bit of sleep, and he's going to blend over. Try to cover off as many of these lines as possible. Widens it out into the entry turn 1. We're just going to see him 2 wide. Don't see any 3 wide action yet. Maybe back here in the back a little bit. Nope. Still saying pretty tame. It's a pretty tame start for Monza. These guys really taking it easy through the first couple corners and making sure everybody gets through clean, as we see Jason Perry made up a couple spots there on the start.
That was not a bad start here from these guys, but we have plenty of racing left to go. Track map coming up for you guys, and you will see a lot of cars very close together and going very fast. Looks like people are going to make moves here already into the chicane. That was Megan Overstreet. Looks like she gained a couple positions there.
The 28 car struggling there on braking, had to lock it up, and then was really slow through there, and was backing up the field behind that car, and they're going to possibly lose the tow. They're going to really have to work hard and work together to get that back. But Megan Overstreet comes out with a position there and is still attached to that lead draft. It's a pretty big lead draft.
Yeah, this is a huge lead draft, actually, and we're going to have to pay attention here, see what happens. Now, we're coming through one of the tougher-ish, I would say, corners here. It's a Scary, and it's going to be very tight for these cars, especially, like you said, that bump, the sausage curve there on the inside, Randall, is not one that you want to hit more than once.
The ones through the middle of the corner are especially difficult. That last one, you can kind of get away with hitting it more often than not. We see the very, very tame so far. Josh Soto looking to the inside. Looks like he's gotten around Castro there. And trying to look in the inside of Manny as well. He really wants to get up to the front.
You weren't kidding. Josh is on a mission here, and it looks like Dantas is going to come down to help Soto with that draft. Oh, no, Dantas moves back up. Dantas knows what he's doing. He's trying to keep both of these cars side by side beside him. We're going 4 wide, Randall.
Here we go. This is what I expected at the start, and they're going to wait. They're just waiting a lap. Now that they got some temperature in the tires, we're going to see a lot of aggression. There's still 3 wide into turn 1. This is going to be very difficult. We see Dantas backs out a little bit. Castro runs wide, manages to keep it on track. There's some contact, and Castro's going to go around. More contact behind. It looks like Megan Overstreet collected with heavy damage. A couple other cars around. See some smoke through turns 1 and 2. Now everybody's shaking out. We've got a lot of cars falling down the order, some stricken cars alongside the track, and the sim is going nuts with the amount of action. Josh Soto looking to take the lead from Antonio Reis.
That was close. Apologies there for the sim. I think there was a lot going on there, and my computer had to take a minute to catch up, but we're still going.
Soto struggled. He managed to make the overtake going into the second chicane, and then struggled on exit, ran wide, and now has fallen back to third. Antonio Reis leads Dantas, leads Soto, leads Manny.
So we've got still Masters in the lead here with Antonio Reis, Jorg Monty back there in second for the Masters, 4th overall. We've got 2 S1 guys splitting those two, Dantas and Soto. So, yeah, we've still got a race on our hands, and Randall is staying close enough here. There is starting a lead pack starting to form here, and Dudu Castro, after going around, seems to be really in an okay position still.
Yeah, he needs to get his head down, try not to let one mistake come into to be multiple mistakes. He's still got contact with this lead draft running in 10th. There's a bit of a bubble behind him. He can save some fuel here, try to make up some of those spots. There is a little bit of a gap forming ahead of that 160 car, so if he and Josh Green can work together to close that gap up, to definitely make sure that they stay within contact. I suspect once they get to turn 1, though, that gap's going to close up just a little bit.
Well, I would say let's start talking about fuel, but we're about to go into turn 1 again, Randall, but we will have to start talking about fuel eventually and see who wants to try to be smart enough and see exactly how much fuel everybody wants to save, but it doesn't look like anybody's trying to save fuel, and Soto going for the lead.
Absolutely, they're fanning out. Once again, we're going to see more battling for position here going into turn 1. Dantas is going to defend Reis there on the inside. Josh Soto has more problems with these apexes here in these chicanes coming in on the suboptimal line, and holds the lead just for a couple of corners. Dantas now takes the lead. Reis is going to end up in front of him again. We got 3 wide behind him, with Manny going to be on the inside of Curva Grande, but the outside for the entry to the second chicane.
They're still 3 wide. Now here's the issue. We got to get it figured out. They did before they got into the chicane. That would not have worked, and Soto is still trying to make moves. This is pretty intense so far.
If you're Josh Soto, you might consider calming down a little bit and bringing the tires back underneath. He's probably overheated them with the way that he's been having to brake late and take bad lines through some of these chicanes. A little bit of sliding. Might need a lap or 2 to bring the tires back under control and into a good working temperature range. It could play out in the long run because they don't take tires on the pit stops in this league. pit window opens up in about another 5 minutes and will run until about 10 minutes left in the race. We're expecting 19 laps here, so plenty of time to get back positions, to get your stuff under control, and to get back in this race.
Absolutely. We got Justice here going for a move on the inside of Ascari. He gets it done. No, he doesn't. He tried to. It was too tight. Justice now up onto those sausage curbs. It almost ended in disaster for him. Still seems to be doing okay. Lace Plava here in 4th position right now, and it looks like Dantas is going to go for it, and he was not able to do it around the outside there.
Actually, Dantas was sticking to the outside. Race was able to make the move with a little bit of momentum from that slipstream. I'm thinking that nobody really wants to be in the lead for very long here except for Josh Soto, and he just can't make it stick.
Yeah, Josh is getting such a run out of Parabolica and able to make it happen. He's going to go 3 wide again and probably get this done. Now, is he going to be able to make it stick this time into turn 1? That's going to be the big thing. They're 3 wide. Are they going to lift? Who's going to lift?
It looks like he should be able to get it done this time. He runs wide on the first apex, but he's going to make it stick this time. Had a much better entry line coming through the corner that time. It was the first time he's really been able to widen out the entry point on any of these chicanes. Didn't have to take that tight line. Even though he missed that first apex a little bit, I think he was just leaving a little bit of room for the Holy Spirit there.
Yeah, absolutely. Biggest mover right now. Joshua Wilkie up 10 positions. I'm just kidding. Jason Perry up 16 positions from the start, Randall.
I think he got a lot of those positions in that big turn 1 incident on lap 2. Was able to get through there cleanly. And yeah, no lap time set in qualifying, trying to drive his way through the field. Right now, he's halfway there.
He is. All right, Bon Jovi, back to the leaders again. We've got Josh Soto still in the lead. Now, the question is Dantas gonna just chill for a minute, try to save some fuel? You want to get some fuel saving done here. You want a shorter pit stop.
I think if I'm anybody that's following Josh Soto, I've seen how aggressive he's going to be. I'm just going to let him run his race up front, play a little rope-a-dope, save some fuel, and get him on the pit stop.
Absolutely. Well, that's, best laid plans. We'll see what exactly happens there. We've got Arnis. We were talking about him at the beginning of the broadcast here, sitting back there 7th overall, first in class in S2, and I think you may have hit something here, Wanshi. He's doing great so far.
Man, I'll have to say that's really surprising from Josephus because he has not been performing that well in other tracks, let's say.
Well, maybe the draft. Obviously, draft tracks tend to bring out the best in other drivers than it would on a more technical track. But I would say, Randall, I'm coming to you. It's never mind because Soto is going, not Soto, I'm sorry, Race is actually going for the lead here.
Yeah, he's going to deciding to keep the pressure on Soto. I've commented on Soto in many different leagues, and I can tell you, even though he leads, we're going 3 wide here. Never mind that thought. We're going to go 3 wide. Dantas on the inside, trying to take the lead away from Race and away from Soto. Looks like he's going to get it done, and so it's going to be Dantas, Race, Plava, and then Soto.
Well, Soto just went from 1st to 4th in the span of about 50 meters there. So great driving by all those drivers as well. 3 wide and still doing what they've got to do. We've got people in the pits right now. I don't think those are scheduled pit stops. That has got to be way too early to come into the pits. And we
got somebody off in turn 1.
We do. It looks like that's Flavio Andalo. We'll go back here, see what happened to Flavio.
Flavio running a bit on his own here. He looks like he's got some front-end damage, obviously collected in that lap 2 incident in turn 1. Probably, I'm going to guess, carries a little bit too much speed or a little bit too much brake through this first corner. Gets not quite to the curb, and I'm not really sure what happened there. Maybe just a victim of the damage on the car. He might come in and try to get that repaired here shortly.
Another wreck here from Wayne Buttermore. Looks like another turn 1 incident. Now, a lot of these are showing crash, guys, on my system, but it could just be an off track. We'll see what exactly happened to Wayne.
And maybe just got a little too slow through this first chicane, and the detective, he got way loose and comes nearly to his stop, has a big moment, keeps it on the island, manages to not get the off track, so it's trying to save those X's. There are bonus points for clean driver in this league.
Yeah, 100% there are, but who cares about bonus points when you're going for a win like all 10 of these guys are up front right now?
Yeah, I expected a lot more calm driving out of this group and not so much fighting for the lead. Right now, the only one that seems to be happy holding position is Jörg Manny there in 5th. He's probably going to be licking his chops watching these guys fight, probably doing a good job at saving fuel while these 4 ahead of him keep battling for position. They're going to go 3 wide again. Jörg Manny's just going to follow one line and stay there very comfortably in 5th.
Jörg Manny is not someone who will save fuel. In fact, he has displayed so much displeasure with other drivers who's trying to play smart with him in the league chat, that he is willing to burn more fuel if he's driving.
Oh my goodness, you hit it on the head there, because he just went from 5th to 3rd. I think Jörg is starting to turn it up. He must have heard what you were saying, Wan Shi. Up there to 3rd. He's going to try to track down Pleva for 2nd. Antonio Reese again, 1st to 4th.
So we're seeing, the leader coming out of Parabolica tends to end up in 3rd or 4th place at turn 1. And that's important now, but at the end of the race, that's not important. What's really important at the end of the race is whoever comes out of Parabolica first and on the inside is going to win that race to the line. That line is way, way closer to Parabolica than it is to turn 1. So these turn 1 battles, while important and while exciting, at the end of the race aren't really going to matter so much.
Well, that's true, but again, turn 1 battles, you got to make sure to get through all your turn 1 battles to make it to the end of the race there, Randall.
Absolutely, yes, and you want to be in a good position on that white flag lap. So maybe coming around to take the white flag, you don't want to be in first.
We will see what happens when it comes to that, because we still have plenty of racing left here. It looks like the pack is starting to separate just a little bit. I do believe Arnis may be on the backside of this. No, we got a few drivers still. The 160 car, I think, is Jason Green. That pack is really starting to separate from 9th on back.
Yeah, it looks like we lost Dudu Castro somewhere in this as well. I do not see him in the top 10 anymore. And he was there fighting his way back up after that turn 1 incident. And now I do not even see him he's somewhere on the leaderboard.
He's around
I'm being a real guy.
He is 25th at the moment, likely
25th, there he is.
Stop already.
So we need to bring Adam's wife in here to find Dudu Castro on the leaderboard for us, because we can't seem to find him.
We got him back there in 25th position at the moment. It looks like Megan Overstreet and Joshua Justice both in. Looks like they both are dealing with quite a bit of damage here too. So I don't think that's a scheduled pit stop. I could be wrong. We've got battles going on all over the track here. Looks like Tom Gradwell in his own little battle with Jason Perry at the moment. Still Spider-Man trying to web his way up to the front. That was a terrible analogy, and I'm so sorry, but I tried. We've got Bradshaw as well back here trying to track down Russell Tilker.
Yeah, back to Perry. We're gonna want to watch that gap. If you're watching at home, watch that gap. It's getting smaller and smaller every corner. He might be able to track down P11 and P10, and then he'll have another gap to try to close to get up to the lead pack. But right now, he's really making his way. His progress has slowed a little bit, but he is definitely making time.
At what point do these drivers back here say, okay, guys, let's go. We have to catch this lead pack. These guys are now starting to get in a line up front. This is not what the drivers behind them want to see. Drivers behind them have to start settling in, getting in a line. And, okay, next question, Randall. Can you push in these cars, or do you think just the draft itself?
The draft itself is going to be your best tool. But if you've lost the draft to the pack ahead, it's going to be very, very difficult to make it up. You might be able to do a little bit of leapfrogging or breaking late into some sections to close gaps by a couple tenths. You see Dantas has a bit of a gap ahead of him. He's going to be slipping out of slipstream range, so he's going to need to make some moves to get back up to the front. We see they're playing leapfrog. He's going to lose a spot. That leapfrogging may help, but that gap come down. With that leapfrog came down a couple tenths. So they do have a shot here to get back up there, especially if the leaders start battling. You'll see that gap start to shrink. But right now, they're right at the edge of draft range and slipping away.
Yeah, that is not what they want to see up there. Looks like there's more battling up front, though. It's just nonstop. 4 wide again. Dow, someone backed out of that. I think Antonio Reese said, you know what, go ahead. I do not want anything to do with this. And I think Joshua Soto has started to get a little smart as well here, Randall, just hanging out around 4th place.
Josh, not known for fuel saving, but has a knack for having a quick pit stop and managing to save fuel while fighting for position. So while maybe not intentionally saving fuel, he could be still in a really good spot to take the lead after the pit stop.
Absolutely, and again, this battle here, it looks like this interval now, 6th place, your Cevix is starting to fall off the back of 5th even, so they're still in it, but just barely. Looks like Gardini is the last driver really to be in that lead lap group, and now it looks like the top 3 are starting to break away.
Yeah, maybe some shuffling going on. Josh Soto may have had an incident through one of the chicanes and gotten a little wide, and now has formed a little bit of a gap. If anybody can close the gap down, though, it's going to be Josh Soto.
We'll have to see. It's down to up to 1.2 now. You were talking about that draft really fading away. After 1 second, 1.4, 1.5, they're going to have to work together now.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit of effort. And Yanshi, do these cars bump draft at all? Can you bump draft in these cars?
Yeah, sure you can, but that will give you a 4x incident penalty, so you might have to watch out for that.
So the incident system in iRacing, very sensitive to these cars. Bump drafting could help you close the gap, but it also could give you 4x. And I think it's only 13x gives them a drive-through in this league.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's not something you want to hear if you're starting to fall into the back of the pack. You want to push, but you don't want that 13x. You don't want that drive-through. That will absolutely ruin your race. So another thing that's going to start ruining races here, Randall, are the pit stops. You have to stay within that draft. You've got to get these perfect.
Yeah, that gap is forming from the top 3 back to the rest of the lead pack. If it remains stationary, even if they're out of slipstream range, it could vanish with the pit stop. So they're not completely out of this race yet, but they do need to make hay while the sun's shining and these leaders are battling.
Yep, and they're battling again. Look at this. I mean, again, that's all it took. Now, we've got Yurcevic back there now, back into that draft. Just barely should be able to hold on to it. Car's getting in line. Soto's falling back a couple more positions, Randall.
And not terribly surprising. Some of these drivers are just going to take advantage of any opportunity they get on another driver. They still have the same slipstream coming down the turn 1, even if they're not in the lead pack. They're still in a group, so there's still going to be lots of shuffling going on. We see Soto take that spot back and jumps back up into 5th.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, as it stands right now, Reese in 1st, Monty in 2nd, which is probably going to change quicker than I can get through the top 10. Plava there in 3rd with Arnis in 4th, Josh Soto 5th, Claudio is sitting there 6th with Evandro in 7th. Bobby West in 8th. We haven't talked about Bobby. Still hanging in there, though. Randall still doing just fine with Jason Green in 9th and Jeff Fritcher rounding out your top 10 right now. But, yeah, back to Arnis again. Still doing just fine. S2 leader right now. Sitting in 5th place. Getting raced. I know this is probably not what he wants right now.
Not exactly what he wants, but this is what he's got to deal with. So you gotta take the hand that you're dealt and make the best out of it. Try not to lose any time, as little time as possible. And right now they seem to be, while they're battling in the second pack, they seem to be very tame in their battling, while these top 3 are really going cutthroat every opportunity they get.
Oh, speaking of cutthroat, we've got some things going on back here with Wilkie and Bruce Orozco, I believe. No, Wilkie and Fritcher, they got a little bit close going down into Parabolica.
So is Jeff Fisher in the iconic Paddy Blue car.
There you go.
I think a bit of a miscommunication on who was going to go where leaves the one car being off in the grass, and we're going to see Fritcher going to take the opportunity to dip into pit lane. We have a few cars, Green, Fritcher, West, are all in the pit lane right now.
All right, so this is where the pit stops are starting to come around here. We haven't hit that 30-minute mark yet, but I think some of these drivers, again, we've got to look at Stevie Ray, because Stevie even mentioned normally when he goes in, that's when we know pit stops are open, and Stevie Ray's still out there.
I expect to see him here coming in sometime soon. We do have a couple cars that are still towing. Dudu Castro towed about a minute ago, along with Caleb Pocock, so I wonder if those two got together.
I think we might be able to go find that here. Just maybe. Just maybe.
I'm watching the pit exit. We have some cars coming out. Everybody's going to be coming off into pretty much clean track. And not going to be a lot of incidents here at pit exit this time around, but we're going to see more pit stops coming in the coming laps. Daniel Wood is one of those in the pits right now.
Let's see if we can see what happened here to Dudu Castro. It looks like he just goes wide. Just parks it.
Goes wide and just says he's had enough. A rough day in Monza for Dudu. He's going to park the car and go hang out in the paddock, maybe have a cold one.
I don't blame him. I'm sure it's probably pretty hot down there in Italy right now, but especially hot underneath his helmet after what happened.
We've had some movement up front. We see Aleš Pleva now with some front-end damage in the front.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that just goes to show you don't need a clean car to be fast here if you can stay in the draft.
And this lead draft is reforming now. We don't have much of a gap. Josh Soto in 5th, 1.2 back. It's fading away a little bit, but Andrea Gardini has been able to close that gap and join the top 3. So it is possible to close that gap.
Yeah, it really is. So we're going to have to see what happens here. Again, still plenty of time to go. Trying to go back here, see if we can cover somebody. Looks like Russell Telker into a bit of a battle of his own with the 555 car here of Paulo Brime.
So Spec 1 on Spec 2. No quarter going to be expected and none given. They're going to keep fighting here, coming through the Lesmos right now. That 250 car of Russell Telker, or sorry, 260 of Russell Telker is still trailing.
Got Brewster and Love battling again. Oh, they're not battling. They're starting to do the good old switcheroo here, Randall, trying to get up to those guys in front of them.
Yeah, I think right now is a good time to be pulling a lot of these changeover moves like this to try to get as much time as possible as the pit cycle shakes out. You're going to see where they will actually come out. Right now, it's just a pair of them, but I think once we see a few more cars in the pits, they'll have some company.
All right, Wanshi, I'm coming to you here as we starting to see pit stops. What's the fuel strat here? I know you were looking at it before the race.
Based on the data I've gathered, drivers should be averaging a little bit less than 0.3 of a gallon per lap, and they should be getting 1.7 gallons in the pit stop.
Apologies there. I had my mic muted. So, yeah, Randall, go ahead and decipher that for us, please.
So you're going to have a pretty short pit time. It's not going to take a long time to refuel that much. And if you saved any fuel, it's going to be even shorter. We see Wayne Buttermore in the pits right now. He's in there by himself. Normally, if you come into the pits by yourself, you're going to get stranded at a track like this. We'll see what happens with Wayne as he gets going again and rejoins. Hopefully, he's got some drafting partners. But right now, the track is looking pretty empty when he's going to come out.
Well, listen here, Randall. His team is from the back racing, so if anybody can do it, it's got to be Wayne.
Absolutely, from the back.
But back up to the lead pack, still battling, and it is allowing these guys, Joshua Soto, to get even closer. They're not leaving an inch up here right now.
And that, Yashi, I'm going to ask you, are these cars very sensitive to floor damage?
I believe not, let's say, but I have to point out that though Joshua Soto is a very fast driver, but I think what's going on right now is the likely is on the default setup. There's not much parameters you can change in this car, but with how the tire degradation in this car is, the setup definitely can help you a little bit with hot tire handling.
Understood. So I was wondering, maybe Josh Soto has had a couple little excursions off some sausage curbs. Could have done some damage to the underside of that car, but it sounds like maybe he's just got a setup issue where he's a little bit more abusive on those tires. He seems to be good in traffic, though. We see Jason Green and a couple others rejoining there. We have Andrew Love is in the pits right now, as well as Adam Bradshaw. Oh,
well,
trouble here from Adam Bradshaw. What had happened here on a replay? This looks like turn 1 and 2 had a bit of a, I couldn't tell if he was helped out there or not, but a very violent spin gets it going back under power and in the right direction. Doesn't look like he took much damage, if any at all. We see him coming out of pit lane now in that Ireland flag livery, and might have a drafting partner if he gets out of here quick enough. We can see one car coming up behind him on the straightaway. He might be good to make some spots back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lead battle's still going on, hot and heavy though.
Yeah, I mean this is ridiculous up front right now. Now, in a good way, in a great way, I should say, ridiculous up front. These drivers are just leaving it all out there right now, and that is allowed now for sure. Joshua Soto to get back to that lead group along with Jurcevic and Dantas and Wilkie. Nope, not Wilkie, but yeah, all the way back to Dantas now. What was a 4-3 car breakaway now back into 7. And if they keep this up, Wilkie's got a chance to get there too.
Now we'll see who's going to be trying to pull the undercut here. The undercut could be pretty powerful on a track like this. So coming in early out of this group might be advantageous. We'll see who dips into pit lane this time by. They're going to have a couple more laps of fuel as they go by this time, but they're going to have to be looking soon. And most of them coming in now. Nobody wants to give up that undercut. Nobody's staying out to go try to do the overcut without draft.
Looks like Wilkie's going to be the first one that stays out. So Wilkie's going to inherit this lead. Now, here's the question. These are very important pit stops. Don't blow them. Do not blow the stops. Looks like, who is that? That looks like it was that Miney. It looks like he made his pit box, but just barely. All of these drivers now sitting in their pit boxes. Just got to be right on your marks.
Manny with a actually pretty cagey pit stop there, pointing his car out. He's going to be able to get away a little bit better. But Andrea Gardini looks like he had the shortest stop of all and got out in the lead of that group. So he was able to save a lot of fuel.
Look out, though.
Hopefully he didn't underfuel, and we got some more traffic coming up. This could get hairy quick.
This is Bobby West here on the outside. He is back into things for now, up there into 4th position. And it looks like Bobby West is already pitted, too. So this is huge for Bobby.
Yes, everybody in this pack, it looks like, has pit. So this is your effective battle for the lead. Josh Wilkie out in front right now, still yet the pit. Expect to see him at the end of this lap. Should probably pick up a lap lead even on this. By the time he gets in the pit lane, they will not have made the start-finish line yet. A little argy-bargy with Josh Soto there in the background. A little contact, they come back out. Ends up being clean there. A little touch with him and Jason Green. No harm, no foul. Some small gaps here, they can shake this out pretty easily, especially once fighting starts happening.
Well, remember what you mentioned about the pit stops, Randall. It brought that group of 7 back to about a group of 10. Almost 11 cars now. So this is effectively, like you said, an 11-car battle for the next 13 minutes of this race.
And don't forget about Josh Wilkie. It could be a 12-car battle. We'll see where he comes out, who is quite a bit of ways off of the lead pack whenever he stayed out. He's coming up to Parabolica now. He'll be likely diving into the pits this time. He might have one more lap in him, but I don't think he'd want to stay out there without draft for another circuit.
I've been looking at his gap, his interval there to Andrea Gardini, and it doesn't seem to have come down that much. So as long as Wilkie gets this right and he gets it perfect, he should be okay. And to boot, Randall, maybe a little bit of damage fixed.
Yeah, that's right. He get some repairs done. And speaking of damage, it looks like Kurt Nunez has taken the tow a couple seconds ago and is now making his way. His car is making its way back to pit lane. We'll see what happened with him possibly. We go on board with Kurt Nunez. Looks like he's in the Lesmos, gets a little bit of grass on entry and runs a wide and then overcorrects, trying to catch the car and makes contact with the barrier. We'll see if he gets able to get back going. But right now, see Wilkie coming out of the pits, the lead pack going by. He might be stranded here. He's going to have a little bit of traffic on exit, but not the amount of traffic that he hoped for. He's definitely lost contact with his lead pack. Going to come out, hopefully staying even in the top 15 for him.
That is extremely unfortunate there for Wilkie. I cannot believe he lost that amount of time in the pits.
That just shows how much time you gain with the draft, and by not having a draft partner for the entire lap, kind of shot himself in the foot.
Well, I think you're right about that one. So we're going to go back here to the back of this pack. Starting to spread out again just a little bit, but it's still close enough. It's almost a 2-car breakaway now up at the front. Looks like Jorg and Andrea Gardini have gotten the hint to work together, and they're gapping them.
And we got about 10 minutes left, so 3/4 of the way through this race, we're going to see things start getting hot and heavy now. If there's any gaps that can be formed, they're going to try to open them up. And if they're, hopefully, some of these drivers can work together to close some gaps up. But right now, it looks like we have a 2-car breakaway. Manny and Andrea Gardini got a nice little cushion. I suspect these two will try to keep it civil until the white flag. maybe my prediction's going to come right. Jörg Manny in a good position to win this race.
Well, I haven't seen much civility this whole race, Randall, so I'd be surprised if they start now, but I've been wrong before quite a bit, actually. So we'll see what happens. Josh Soda back there in fourth with Bobby West in third, trying to track these guys down, but they are not working together at all.
It does not seem like they're doing a lot to work together. Another thing to keep an eye on is Andrea Gardini had the quickest pit stop out of all these by quite a bit. He was 0.2 of a second quicker than Bobby West's total pit time. And that's basically a second or more to anybody else. And it makes you wonder if he put enough fuel into that car to make the end of this race. He might be in a position where he's going to be fuel saving for the rest of the race just to try to make it to the end.
Well, let's talk about Andrea.
They're going to get an extra lap, but there you go. He's going for the overtake. So obviously not too worried about fuel at the moment.
I wouldn't be worried about it either because Andrea Gardini was not winning at all. He never wanted to take the lead there at the first part of this race. He was back there pedaling it, staying in the back, staying with the lead group. I think Andrea Gardini, if I'm taking a pick with 9 minutes to go, Andrea Gardini might have a serious chance to win this race.
And it looks like he caught Manny a little bit off guard. Manny did not have a great exit out of turns 1 and 2. The gap opened up a bit. It's starting to close back down now, but he almost was at a point where if he had a good second chicane, he could open up the gap. So by no means is this over yet.
Not even close, but Bobby West has started to close that gap in, Randall. It was up to 2 seconds. It's down to 1.7 now. And it looks like, oh man, I thought Monty was going to go for a move right there. What Monty does not want to do, and what Andrea Gardini is hoping Monty doesn't do, is take a gamble, take a move right now. They want this to be a 2-car battle, not a 9-car battle.
And while we have a moment here and the cars aren't fighting, we see Perry has made his way up 19 spots since starting on the very back of the field. Is kind of stalled out at P13 now. He's got a big gap ahead of him. I don't think he's going to be able to make many more spots.
I don't think so.
He does have a chance to catch Gilkey. Wilkie does look like he may be slowing down a little bit, but this gap stays pretty static through most of the lap.
We'll have to see, but speaking of from the back racing, that should be Jason Perry. My goodness, 19 positions. Unbelievable with Jeff Fritcher there gaining 10 positions as well. Looks like there was a car off, but didn't quite see who that was. Looks like Monty still in the lead.
Gap up front.
Yep, they're battling.
We got a big battle. Big battle in Parabolica. We see Manny took the lead back. That gap between second and third closed by a couple tenths. Even while they were fighting, it's starting to open back up again. But I would think here in the next couple chicanes, we're going to see it close down even more. We could have a 6-car race again.
Yeah, this is impressive, actually, that these guys haven't worked together as much as I thought they were going to, and he is going for it. Andrea Gardini does not want to not have that lead, but they might be going 4 wide behind him.
Yeah, it's easy for me to say from the booth, but it's tough to understand why these drivers aren't trying to work together to close these gaps up. But they're at the same time, they're doing a decent job of cutting it down by a couple tenths every lap. So it could be right on time as we're approaching 6.5 minutes left in the race.
I'm Bobby West. I'm screaming in my helmet right now saying, guys, we're catching him. We're catching him. Come on now. But racers are going to race, and that's the one thing that you have to understand about this. Like you said, it's a lot easier to sit from the booth and tell everybody what they're doing wrong, but when you get yourself in that seat, everything changes.
Well, let's ask somebody that knows. Yan Shi here. Tell me, if you're in that second group, what is your mentality right now with about 6 minutes left in this race?
I think they have a really good shot at catching the lead group. That's actually very rare from them. You know, there's usually not much racing this car, honestly. And I honestly don't know why they decided to race super hard today. That's very, very rare.
Well, it makes for a great broadcast, doesn't it, Ray?
Yeah, I think it's just something about Monza. I don't want to say it lowers IQs, but it definitely shortens fuses, and people just don't have the same amount of patience when it comes to Monza.
Well, here's the push from Joshua Soto, and Bobby West is within the draft range of Gardini at the moment.
Exactly.
Right
That's exactly what they needed. They're almost within that second, that magical second. No DRS on these cars, but that's where the draft really starts to hit. And let's talk about this for 1 second, Randall, before we go back to the racing. I think I might try to compare Monza in road racing to Daytona when it comes to super speedway racing. That's when the fuses get really short.
Excuse me for a second, but I want to point out the fun fact that Bobby West is at the moment at the most western end of the circuit.
Yeah, very nice. Very
excellent,
nice.
Excellent.
Oh, yep. Yanchi wins comment of the day here in the slow motion broadcasting booth. For sure, Bobby West back there in 5th position now. But that 2-car battle, it just turned into 6.
Yeah, it absolutely did. That gap's still a little bit big, but definitely within slipstream range. They're going to close it more this lap, and we're going to see a real barnstormer here in the closing stages of this race as this group recoalesces.
I'm noticing, is that left front damage there on Jason's green Spec Racer? It looks like that should not. Well, maybe not. Maybe just the shadows.
Could be just the shadows. Maybe he hit one of the curves a little too hard and has dented it up, but I don't really see any scuff marks. So typically the way the iRacing damage model works is if there's any damage at all, you'll definitely see something in the paint to help you notice it. Right now, he's looking pretty clean.
Yanchi, we do have a shout out for you from Dudu Castro saying great to see you here, Yanchi, and it's great to have you. If you keep throwing out puns like that, you're welcome back anytime.
Well, thank you all for having me, and well, we hope to see Dudu on the circuit.
Absolutely, we do. But we've got Bobby West, speaking of being almost on the westernmost part of the track. He's getting pretty close to it. He just got passed by Jason Green, and they are starting to lose this lead battle. About 0.7 of a second. It looks like they're going to be able to stay within it. This is not going away. We only have 4 minutes left in the race, Randall.
And Bobby moving west to east in this pack right now, but they're still within contact of the draft, so they're going to be able to close this gap back up. He might be in a good spot, actually, to take this right here in the white flag and make some moves happen, but they're not being patient. They're not trying to set up anything. Everybody wants to beat. I think they're trying to think 2 and 3 laps ahead. Where do I want to be at the end of this? Try to set up now. That we're seeing fighting, defending. It's just absolutely dagger in teeth, no quarter given racing the entire time.
Remember when we mentioned Joshua Soto? Think we was going to fall away? Absolutely, Josh Soto's not going away. He's about to push Monty, Aless up to the lead, and it looks like they're going to go too wide. This is going to give Soto a chance.
Yeah, he's going to have a big opportunity here to get another spot, and maybe even the lead is, Alesh is able to cover him off there at the last moment coming into Curva Grande.
Now with the previous second group catching up, we really got to watch out for Pleva and Soto. Both drivers having some real-life experience. They have great car positioning. I think that's something that sim drivers typically lack of.
Absolutely. That is very, very true, Yanchi. And I just want to mention real quick, Soto is tucked up under the back bumper of Pleva. I mean, absolutely. This is the closest I've seen any car to another car is when Soto's pushing somebody.
They completely freight trained Monty there, and now we're seeing Josh Soto actually letting Pleva run away a little bit. I think what he's trying to do is set up a little bit of a gap so that he has a big slipstream coming down the front straightaway. I think they might be taking the white flag this time by. We'll see. It is just over a 2-minute lap here, so I'm pretty sure they're going to get the white flag this time. Josh Soto is setting himself up for a pass into turn 1 and hopefully to keep that lead and defend it into Parabolica.
He absolutely is. I just want to mention real quick, back here in 10th place, Wilkie has just gotten around Joshua Justice. Yes, apologies there. Bobby West is back here now into 9th place. He has fallen way back. I think he might be having some fuel problems.
Yeah, it does seem like he's probably saving some fuel. Doesn't seem to have any damage, so I doubt he had much of an excursion. But yeah, he is taking a very narrow exit there. He is definitely not getting to full throttle very early, and he's struggling for fuel. He's going to fall into the clutches of Wilkie here. Maybe the slipstream will help him make the end of this race, but we might even see him duck into the pits here on the last lap.
Oh, here we go, Randall. Last lap, all gloves are off. Monty to the outside, Soto to the inside. They're going to go 3 wide. We've got 2 cars behind them even, just licking their chops, hoping this happens. Soto gets by at least Pleva, but Monty still on the outside. And now it looks like Green is going to take an outside line. 3 wide, going into 1.
Oh, this could get hairy quick, and there's contact. All 3 make contact, and Green is going to come out the best for it possibly. No, they all managed some argy-bargy through turn 2. Manny with the experience of age is going to come out in the lead and maybe even have enough to open up a little bit of a gap. If he's got this much of a gap going into Parabolica, the race is over for the rest of the guys.
Oh, the Spaghetti Western Showdown went sour quite quickly.
it did go. It went a little bit east. Wild West went east here, but that's all right. We still have a battle going. We'll see what happens here. Pleva is already on the back of Monty here, halfway through the lap, about to go through Lesmo 1, then Lesmo 2. Then they're going to have another draft train all the way down to Ascari, Randall. It's not done yet.
Yeah, as long as Monty can have the lead coming out of Ascari, he's got to hug that white line on the inside, on the right-hand side of the track, and just keep that inside. He should be able to lock it down. We did see an incident in turn 1 here on the last lap. I did not see who it was.
It was Megan Overstreet. Megan
Overstreet having another issue and is now parking the car and going to watch this finish from the pit lane.
Well, I apologize, guys, for not going anywhere. We don't want to go anywhere else other than this lead pack right now. And Pleva has one more chance. Monty in the lead through Ascari. Monty to the left. Now he's swerving back right. A bit of Lando Norris vibes here a few years ago. This is going to get really interesting. Where is Pleva going to go? Is he going to go anywhere? Is Soto going to push him? Who's going to push who? Looks like Pleva to the outside. Monty to the inside. Soto gets a little bit in, a little bit deep. It looks like Pleva just around the outside. He might have this, Randall.
Oh, he does. He covers him off. He manages to get the run on the outside done. He's going to win the drag race to the line. Pleva's going to steal it from Monty in the last corner. We still got a couple spots to shake out here. The drag race, Monty just barely comes up short, and it looks like Soto's going to finish third. Gardini's going to finish in fourth. What a battle.
Unbelievable battle here. We got Fritcher and Yurcevic. Looks like Fritcher got the best of them. Wilkie there in ninth position all by himself. We got another battle here. Perry, Bruce Orozco, Gladwell. All of them. Looks like Perry, Bruce Orozco, and then Gladwell in that order, actually, to be honest. And then we've got Dantes here by himself. Andrew Love comes across the line in 15th. Look at Stevie Ray up 13 positions, Randall.
Absolutely. You know, the real tortoise and hare situation here with Stevie Ray, not saying that he's slow, but he's patient and makes sure that he keeps that nose clean, and he ends up coming up 13 spots in this race to have a really good finish there in P17. And another little battle here between Daniel Wood and Jackson. We're waiting to see the rest of the pack come across the line. We see some cars really slow. It's like a lot of people struggling with fuel. Speaking of struggling with fuel, Perry was able to come up with 3 more spots after that pit stop when he looked like he was a bit on an island. So some people struggling with fuel, Wilkie being one of those that was struggling with fuel, even though he finished ahead of Perry, he managed to grab a couple more spots. Went from last place on this field to 10th.
That was unbelievable driving there from Jason Perry. You can see him there, kind of see his 97, the back end of it. Yeah, unbelievable driving. 22 positions for Jason Perry. Great points all for him today. Looking to see here who we're waiting on. We're looking on Wayne Buttermore, I think, is the last one to cross the line. Then we'll get you your results.
Wayne Buttermore representing from the back racing, brings it across the line to complete the race. And that should be the entire field across the line. And your results here. Alesh Pleva with the last lap, last corner win over Jurg Manny in second. Jurg's going to take that Masters win. Josh Soto in third. He was a factor the entire race, as well as was Claudio Andrea Gardini and Jason Green. Antonio Reese going to come home sixth with Jeff Fritcher right behind him. We didn't talk about Jeff too much, but he had a really good race. Then taking your Spec 2 win is going to be Arnis Yurcevic, followed by Joshua Wilkie, who was in position to win Spec 2 and then just got the fuel number wrong and had to save some fuel at the end. He's ahead of Jason Perry, who finished 22 spots up from where he started at the very back. P11, Wilson Bruzarasco. P12 is going to be Tom Gradwell. Bobby West was making some moves and up there in the fight for the win, ends up finishing P13. He was also struggling with fuel. P14, Evandro Dantes, who we saw at the front for most of this race, ends up finishing with a bit of damage and come on home P14. Andrew Love, P15. Jim Brewster, P16 over league admin Stevie Ray in 17th. Daniel Wood comes home P18. P19 is going to be Paul Jackson, followed by Brad Cathcart, rounding out your top 20. Then Jeff Jacobson, Russell Telker, Joshua Justice, Paulo Brame, Adam Bradshaw, and Wayne Buttermore. And then your cars finishing one lap down, you have Flavio Andalo and Megan Overstreet, who lost it there on the white flag and just parked it, didn't finish that final lap. Then other drivers who were struggling with damage or retiring the car, Kurt Nunez in 29th, Caleb Pocock in 30th, Dudu Castro, who was a factor early in this race, coming in P31. P32 is going to be Gary Wobold.
Randall, it looks like we've got someone sitting here in the interview waiting room by the name of Jason Dean. Looks like we got someone else in there too, but I'm trying to figure out who exactly that is.
That will be Mr. York Money.
Well,
so Jason, we saw you dealing with a lot of traffic today, especially up at the front of the pack. You come home at 5th overall. Tell us a bit about what it was like out there in the rush hour traffic today.
Yeah, that was freaking wild, y'all. The entire race, pretty much. Yes, Bobby and I were in Discord together, so we pitted early to try to get the undercuts, and we were making a lot of progress. I think we gained at like 1.2 seconds in one lap. Not quite enough, but we were able to jump a lot of people. And then the last couple of laps I was driving with 12x or 11x, I think. So if I got a 4x, I would have gotten a drive-through penalty. And I have no idea how I didn't get a 4x in the last lap in turn 1 when we were playing bumper cars in the first chicane. So yeah, it was a wild race, lots of fun, and I just kind of upset with myself for messing up the last corner like I did. But other than that, it was a lot of fun.
So tell us about that turn 1 incident on the last lap. Your eyes must have been dollar signs the entire way as you saw the 3 ahead of you start making contact, and then they rejoined right in front of you and made you throw out the anchor. What was that like?
Oh, I thought I won the race. To be honest, I saw the first apex just clear. There was nobody there. I was like, oh, I just won. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that. But yeah, it was interesting for sure.
All right, well, good race today. You come home with a good finish in a very hard-fought race. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go?
I mean, shout out to y'all for doing the broadcast. Y'all did a great job last week. Obviously, haven't watched the one this week so far, but I'm sure y'all did a great job again. Shout out to Stevie. Shout out to Yanchi for doing commentary. And yeah, shout out to everybody in the league. The wonderful community we have, and I'm honored to race with everybody every week.
Well, congratulations on surviving a really wild race, and maybe we'll talk to you again next week.
Fingers crossed.
That was your P5 overall, P4 and Spec 1 finisher, Jason Green. And Adam, I think that you found Jörg Manny hiding out in the pit lane.
I did find him, and he wasn't hiding. He was not running and hiding during the race today. Jörg, what a race. Kind of walk me through exactly what your thought process was. Were you trying to race that hard throughout the whole race, or did you want to get into a line?
No, I'm never fuel saving. I want to race, I want to fight. But there's times to think about fighting and there's times to fight. And that's what I always try to do, actually. But it was great fun. It was great fun.
Yeah, I don't think there was much thinking about fighting today, Jörg. It was an all-out battle for 40 minutes. Congrats on your P1 Masters win. Came home second place. We have to talk about the last corner. Parabolica, did you think you had him covered off?
Usually he was wide there, so I could always kick him in on his inside, but this time he braked even a little bit later, could hold the line, and I had to lift a bit too much actually, so to avoid him, not to bump him out actually, and I saw immediately that will not work because I was too far back on his backside, and great win for Olesh, nice.
Yeah, it was an absolutely great win for Olesh. Great battle for you. Let's talk about turn 1 on the last lap, Jörg. How did you get through that relatively unscathed enough to keep driving and almost take that win? That had to be a very scary moment for you going into turn 1.
No, I was expecting that on the last corner. I mean, on the bus stop chicane, and you always have to expect that in Monza, and that's why I kept a little bit of distance, tried to go, where can I go, and the inside was open, that's why I moved to the left, but it was still quite a lot of luck involved there.
It was an absolute great display of driving from you, Jorg. Again, we talk about you quite a bit here in the Weekend Warriors broadcasts. We always say you might be
I hope
old.
not from the last race. I hope not about the last race.
We talked about you a little bit then too, but we always say you might be old, but you are definitely not slow. So thank you for putting on a great show for all of these guys that are 60 and over in the Weekend Warriors. But before I let you go, Jorg, is there anybody you want to thank? Anybody you want to shout out?
To all of you guys, as a new broadcaster for us, it's always getting to know each other a bit better. And you're doing a good job, great job actually. And thanks for Stevie putting up the show. And it's great. It's great fun. I had a time there was not much fun involved, but I think I found my fun again.
I think I hope you found your fun again, because we have a lot of fun watching you. You know what? We've got a guest in here today. Yangshi, you got any questions for him?
Not really.
Okay.
I think,
he never asked me questions.
Yeah, I mean, you already explained everything.
Exactly. All right. Well, anyways, Jorg, I tried to throw Yangshi for a loop there. He didn't bite, but absolutely great race, Jorg. We hope to see you up here again soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Good night.
Good night. That was Jorg Mani there, winner of the Masters class. My goodness, Randall, it happened last week. It happened again. These Spec Racer Fords, these drivers in this league are just, it's an unbelievable display of talent.
Absolutely, yeah. This was a Monza always produces great racing, and these guys took it to another level. Guys and gals, don't want to forget Megan out there as well. They just took it to another level. Great to see, really hard racing. It was very clean. There was some bumping and grinding there at the end, but white flags out. Ain't nothing wrong with a little bump and grind, like the song says. I would like to take a moment to shout out Michelle Lynn in our chat. We've had quite a few viewers hanging on during both races. Michelle's been here chatting it up the entire time, so thank you for hanging out, Michelle. Great participation, and love seeing you in chat.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Michelle, thank you so much. I know you don't have to do this. You're watching, you're chatting. It does nothing but help our views and help get, slow motion broadcasting, but also the Weekend Warriors out there to other people with the algorithms, especially on YouTube. So thank you so much, Michelle, for that. But before we go, we got to bring up, if you didn't have enough of your drafting experience, we've got one more race coming at you tonight at 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. XSLR is heading to Indianapolis, running the asphalt street stocks. Going to be a whole lot of drafting there. Going to be a whole lot more bumping than you can do in the Spec Racer Ford. So keep an eye out for that on the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube. That one's going to be brought to you by Tim Cox. SimCar coming up this Thursday at Daytona Road Course in the GT3s. It's going to be their first race of the season. Next Sunday, they are going to Ossersleben for Formula Fords. Yeah, you like that, didn't you? Trying to name that one out. And then again, Spec Racer at Knock Hill Sunday evening. So it's going to be Sunday afternoon. So it's going to be a great showing again, I'm sure, at Knock Hill, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, my name's been Adam Thompson, been joined in the booth by Randall McGrew and a special guest, Yangshi Lin. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Yangshi.
Well, thank you for having me here.
It's been a great time, guys. We will see you in a couple hours at Indianapolis. If we don't see you then, we could see you Thursday. If we don't see you then, we'll see you next Sunday afternoon. Bye, guys.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but